The New York Knicks are standing at a crossroads. For the first time in over 2 decades, they've proven that they're more than just a scrappy underdog. They fought their way to the conference finals last season, the deepest playoff run since the year 2000, and for a moment, it looked like the Knicks had finally returned to relevance. But here's the thing. In New York, relevance isn't enough. This fan base has been waiting over 50 years for a championship, and after tasting real playoff success, patience is running out. The question is simple. Are the Knicks finally ready to become true contenders, or are they still a step away from greatness? If there's one thing the Knicks made clear this offseason, it's that they're not here to mess around. For years, New York was criticized for being hesitant, for clinging to their young pieces and failing to make bold moves. But this summer was different. The Knicks added Malcolm Brogdon, a former 6th Man of the Year who brings steady playmaking and clutch shooting. They also brought in Jordan Clarkson, another former 6th Man winner, known for his explosive scoring off the bench. Then came Guerschon Yabusele, whose toughness and versatility give the roster extra depth in the front court. Think about where the Knicks were just last year, scrambling to find anyone off the bench who could hold their own for a few minutes. Now, they have so many capable players that tough cuts will have to be made before the season starts. And they weren't done there. The Knicks signed Garrison Matthews and Landry Shamet, 2 guys who can stretch the floor and knock down threes. But keeping them, along with Brogdon, likely means parting ways with younger players to free up cap space. That's the kind of problem successful teams deal with, deciding which good players stay, not scrambling to find replacements. They've even been testing the waters with veteran workouts. Dennis Smith Jr., Alex Len, Trey Jemison, and Thomas Bryant have all come through, with Bryant reportedly impressing in open runs. Why does that matter? Because Mitchell Robinson, their defensive anchor, has a history of injuries and foul trouble. Adding a vet like Bryant gives them insurance if Robinson goes down. This isn't the Knicks we're used to. This is a front office making every move possible to win now. And in New York, that urgency matters. Speaking of Mitchell Robinson, let's talk about the Knicks' decision to run a double big lineup. On paper, it looks dangerous. Karl Anthony Towns at power forward, Robinson at center. Towns stretches the floor. Robinson locks down the paint. It's a combination built on complementary skill sets. But it's also a gamble. Robinson has struggled to stay healthy for long stretches, and when he's on the floor, foul trouble can limit his impact. If Robinson goes down, the Knicks suddenly look a lot thinner at the 5. That's why the Thomas Bryant buzz matters. He's not a star, but he's a veteran who's been through playoff battles and can give you solid minutes. In a season where every possession counts, having that kind of insurance could make the difference. The benefit of this double big look is clear. With Robinson protecting the rim, Towns doesn't have to shoulder as much of the defensive burden. Instead, he can focus on offense, playing as a hub at the top of the key, knocking down threes, and exploiting mismatches. For a guy who's often been criticized for his defense, this setup could be exactly what Towns needs to thrive. The risk? If Robinson isn't healthy, the whole plan falls apart. One thing the Knicks desperately lacked last year was time together. Remember, the trade for Karl Anthony Towns happened late, right before training camp. He and Jalen Brunson had to build chemistry on the fly, and yet somehow they made it work. Brunson and Towns found an instant connection in the pick and roll. Defenses couldn't figure out how to stop Brunson's mid-range mastery and Towns' ability to pop out for threes. It became a huge part of the Knicks' offense, despite the fact that they'd barely played together. Now, fast forward to this season. They've had a full offseason, they've worked out together, gone through training camp, and actually had the time to build chemistry. That matters. In the NBA, continuity isn't just a buzzword. It's often the difference between a good team and a great one. Last year, they were improvising. This year, they'll be polished. The biggest change of all? The man on the sidelines. Tom Thibodeau is out. Mike Brown is in. Thibs did what few thought possible. He got the Knicks back to relevance. But his hard-nosed, grinded-out style only goes so far. The Knicks needed a fresh voice, and they got one in Mike Brown, a coach known for adapting his system to fit his roster. Under Brown, expect the Knicks to play with more pace, not necessarily sprinting up and down the court like the Kings, but making faster decisions in the half court. Moving the ball quicker, preventing defenses from settling. That's where the Knicks lagged under Thibodeau, and that's where Brown can make an immediate difference. The rotation will also change. The most likely adjustment? Josh Hart moving to the bench. That might sound like a demotion, but it's actually a perfect fit. Hart thrives in a high-energy, do-it-all role. Off the bench, he can push the pace, guard multiple positions, and bring toughness that shifts momentum. That leaves a starting five of Brunson, McCall Bridges, OG Anunoby, Towns, and Robinson. Size, defense, and shot creation all in one lineup. And unlike last year, the bench actually looks formidable. Hart, McBride, Brogdon, Clarkson, Yabusele, and Robinson's backup. That's depth the Knicks simply didn't have before. And let's not overlook the fact that both Clarkson and Brogdon are former Sixth Man of the Year winners. They've been doubted, fallen off in different situations, and now both have a chance to revive their careers in Madison Square Garden. For a bench that was once a weakness, this could turn into a real weapon. So what does this new-look Knicks offense actually look like? First, more ball movement. Last year, the Knicks often relied on Brunson isolations to carry the load. It worked, but it was predictable. Under Mike Brown, expect sets designed to get everyone involved. That's where McCall Bridges comes in. Bridges struggled at times last season when forced into too much creation, but in Brown's system, he could thrive. Think back to what Brown did with DeMar DeRozan in Sacramento, running clever sets to get him into his mid-range spots. Bridges isn't DeRozan, but he's dangerous in the mid-range, and Towns' ability to stretch the floor creates space for him to operate. The bench is also perfectly balanced. Hart, McBride, Yabusele, and Robinson's backup provide grit, defense, and hustle. Meanwhile, Clarkson and Brogdon give instant offense. That balance is something the Knicks have never had during this era. This isn't just a better roster, it's a more modern one. But let's not get carried away. There are still some glaring weaknesses. The biggest one, Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns on defense. We saw it in the playoffs. Indiana hunted that duo relentlessly in the conference finals. Boston tried the same in the second round, and if the Celtics had simply hit their open threes, the Knicks might have been sent home early. It's one thing to hide one weak defender. Most teams can do that. But when you've got two, especially when one's your point guard and the other's a big man, it becomes nearly impossible. The solution, of course, is Robinson. His rim protection covers up a lot of mistakes. But again, that only works if he's healthy and on the floor. And as Knicks fans know all too well, that's never a guarantee. This is the Achilles heel of the Knicks. And until they prove they can survive against elite offenses, it's going to hang over them. Another looming question, what to do with Josh Hart? Hart has become a fan favorite, and for good reason. He plays with heart, pun intended. He rebounds, defends, hustles, and does the dirty work. But here's the truth. The starting lineup with Hart in it was a disaster last postseason. The numbers don't lie. With Hart in the starting five, the Knicks had a minus 3.2 net rating in the playoffs. They weren't scoring efficiently, and they weren't defending well either. What saved them was their bench, a paper-thin unit that somehow outperformed expectations. This year, the Knicks have no excuse to stick with a lineup that's already been proven ineffective. Hart can still be a game changer, just not as a starter. And then there's the biggest question of all, Jalen Brunson. Under Tom Thibodeau, the Knicks were built around Brunson's isolation brilliance. He carried massive usage rates, among the highest in the league. And when the playoffs came, his workload only increased. That approach worked to a point. Brunson proved himself as one of the toughest, most clutch guards in basketball, but it also made the Knicks predictable. Against elite defenses, it became easier to scheme. Mike Brown's system won't be so heliocentric. The ball will move. Other players will be asked to create, and that means Brunson won't dominate possessions the way he used to. The question is, can he adjust? If Brunson embraces this shift, the Knicks become far more dangerous. Defenses can't load up on him because Towns, Bridges, Clarkson, and Brogdon are all real threats. The offense becomes unpredictable, harder to scheme against. But if Brunson struggles to adapt, if he falls back into old habits, demanding the ball and isolating possession after possession, the Knicks risk becoming predictable again. And against teams like Boston or Milwaukee, predictability is a death sentence. Let's not forget the weight of expectations here. Knicks fans aren't just hoping for progress, they're demanding it. In a recent poll, 43% of Knicks fans said the team needs to win the Eastern Conference Finals to consider the season a success. Another 30% said they need to at least make the finals. That's over 70% of the fan base essentially saying it's finals or bust. That's the reality of playing in New York. The city doesn't celebrate moral victories. They want banners. Realistically, I see the Knicks as the number 2 seed in the East. I think Cleveland, with their youth and depth, might push harder in the regular season and take the top spot. But come playoff time, the Knicks' experience and toughness give them the edge. I expect the Eastern Conference Finals to come down to Cleveland and New York. And right now, I'd put the Knicks as slight favorites. So where does this leave us? The Knicks are deeper, smarter, and better coached than they've been in decades. They have a modern offense, a balanced bench, and a core that believes it can win. For the first time in years, the word contender doesn't feel out of place. But the flaws are still there. Brunson and Towns on defense, Robinson's health, Brunson's adjustment to a new system. These are hurdles the Knicks can't afford to trip on. This season isn't just about progress. It's about proving they belong among the elite. It's about showing the NBA that the Knicks aren't just back. They're here to win it all. And the truth is, the line between glory and collapse has never been thinner. One injury, one failed adjustment, one wrong lineup choice, and it could all come crashing down. But if everything clicks, if Brunson adapts, if Towns thrives, if Robinson stays healthy, and if Mike Brown's system takes hold, then maybe, just maybe, the Knicks can end 50 years of heartbreak. So the question isn't just whether the Knicks are contenders. The real question is, are they finally ready to deliver on a half-century of waiting?